if a kid doesn't have instant gratification, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna check out. It's like I feel like the kids these days are treating football like an app.
Wow.
The app doesn't give me what I want. I'm just gonna go to a different app. I'm gonna go travel to another team.
Leader of the lions, pick of the litter. Against the strongest, I'm alive and remain a victor. My battle scars that show that I am far from a quitter. Went through it all and I'm still striving, that makes me a winner. When it's me versus the globe, with my back to the wall, when at my lowest of lows. Still I put up a brawl, was never in me to fold, never in me to fall. So when my story is told, they'll say I gave it my all.
Welcome back to Next Chapter Podcast. We have a very special guest today that arrived in less than 5 minutes, which is a world record, by the way. Got the call. He was like, man, I'm there. And that's the type of person that this individual is. But I'm excited because we have a lot of history together, but we get to dive a little bit deeper in terms of how he was raised, where he was raised, the values instilled in him. He's got a tremendous story himself, but he's also got a son that's on the rise as well, so we'll get into that. But JT, why don't you go ahead and I'm going to swing it back to you so you can welcome our guest and ask the first question, because I'm always the one asking the first. It's your turn.
Hey,
your turn to ask the first question.
You know, I got it. My guy, I appreciate you coming in and joining the podcast. And first, it's always an honor, right, to have people that have been highly successful in life, professional athletes. And we want to know a little bit more about the athlete outside of just who they are as an athlete. How they became really good at what they did. What was their family like? What were their parents like? What were they thinking about? What they want to do after the game? Stuff like that. So I think the first question, we really like to start, you know, with the roots. You know, what was it like for you and your family? Were you a sibling, only child? What were your parents like? And how did that really shape who you became in life?
Oh man, it's I'm trying to kind of dive into the epicenter of my how Andre Carter became Andre Carter. You know, kind of looking back, obviously my mom and dad's roots began in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So obviously I'm back. I've been back for about a year and some change. But Florida in general has been for me. Was like summer, spring, winter vacations. But my dad, for him, he was he went to school at Strand High School. He went to University of Miami and then got drafted by the Denver Broncos and played for 12 years. And so I was born in Denver, Colorado. But then kind of like after football, you know, got into coaching. So I was like, it's kind of like being a military kid.
Yeah.
Went from Colorado, then Silver Spring, Maryland, went to Miami, Florida for 2 years, and then went to California. But it's kind of funny because I think just me being in different cities and adapting to different, you know, it's like kind of like a lingo, you know.
Yeah.
The East Coast lingo, down south lingo, California lingo. It's you know, you're surrounded yourself by all types of people. Obviously in DC, you know, it was a heavily African American community. In Florida, now you're dealing with people from the islands, Haitians, Jamaicans, Cubans, Black, and then when you go to California, now it's all like everybody's mixed with something. So I think one thing about me, how I came to be, I was always I was adaptable. I was able to adapt to my surroundings. But with me, especially when it came to football, I think people get the misconception like, well, your dad plays football, you should play football. Football, you know, because my dad was real strict. He didn't allow me to play, you know, little league. He didn't allow me to play middle school. I actually started playing football coming into my sophomore year.
Wow.
But prior to that, I mean, I did basketball. I was, you know, 6'4", Dennis Rodman. You couldn't tell me to shoot or nothing. I was just straight defense.
The ball's loose, I'm going for it.
Talking to my boys. Couldn't shoot for nothing. Did tennis when I was like, you know, little, you know, grade school, did taekwondo. But I know I just kind of always were hearing stuff from my dad and other coaches. You know, being a multi-sport athlete really helped, you know, create, you know, a certain player, especially when he starts to decide, or he or she just starts to decide, you know, this is my passion, this is what I was going to do. So I was very thankful for it. You know, but for football, you know, football it kind of felt natural for me. And to be honest, if I had talked to the younger version of myself 15 years from when I was from 15 to college, being in the NFL really was the last thing on my mind.
Really?
I really didn't know how good I was until after when we moved to California. We lost in the playoff game. It's going to my junior year. So the end of my junior year, I'm walking off. I'm mad. I'm angry. We lost in the playoff game. And my defensive coordinator, Coach Lee, Herb Lee, shout out to Coach Herb Lee. He was like, "Hey man, tough year, tough season, but congrats. You did great." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just ticked off."
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I'm like, "What?" Well, you made over there is like all district. I was like, "Okay, all right, thanks, Coach." I talked to my dad. I was like, "Is that good?" My dad's like, "Yeah." All right,
Looking for that
he's like,
confirmation.
"All right, congrats, you made." In the Bay Area, you had CCS, was like the Central Coast section. It was
Yep.
just basically a certain area in the Bay Area. Now it's like a general population. It was like you made, all CCS. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, that's good? That's like, yeah. And then he was like, "Hey, congrats, you made All-American." I'm like, "Is that good?" It's like, yeah. So for me, like I said, I'm oblivious.
Your first year.
My first year. So I played my 10th grade year, which I only played 4 games because I had a bad hybrid extension. And then I moved to California, ended up playing. So going to my second year, I'm getting
All-American.
All-American.
What high school?
Oak Grove High School in San Jose,
Oh, wow.
which at the time, historically had a lot of good players kind of coming out. But then, like I say, when you're just a kid just having fun, like I swear to you, it was a blur. I had 28 sacks my junior year. 28.
Is that good?
I broke the California. Is that good? Yeah.
Is that good?
I broke the California state record in sacks. And then
28 sacks.
but like I said, and then next thing you know, I'm getting now recruiting letters. And I remember my first letter, it was Rice University. Oh yeah, you're Rice. But dad's like, yeah, that's good. That's good. My dad was just like, he was just, because he was a player, he was a coach. He was more a collegiate coach as opposed to NFL coach. He had a few years in NFL, but he got it. At the time when we lived in San Jose, he was a D-line coach at San Jose State. So he was just like, "Hey, you showing some good tape on film, word is out." But letters start rolling in. So I'm like, okay, well, let me just kind of see how this college thing come out. Because at least at the end of the day, look, I'm gonna get a scholarship, I'm gonna go to a good school, and that's that. Fast forward, I ended up committed to Cal. Cal was just a great educational school. It was a Pac-10. It was more of a throwing league. Thanks to my dad. Hey, if you want to rush a passer, you go to the Pac-10.
That was smart.
But if you want to stop the run, you go to SEC.
Or Big Ten. Don't leave us out.
Or Big Ten. So I'm like, okay. But like I said, you talk to the younger version of myself from 18, 19, and 20. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna get a education, play good ball, and then after that, I always tell everybody this story. After I was going to leave college, I was going to join the military. I was going to join the Marines. How I acted, because I liked a good challenge. Obviously, the physicality was great. It was an arena of structure, brotherhood, kind of similar to football. But here we go, going to my junior year, end up getting into high honors. Now I already know what the honors were, so I wasn't that naive. All right, but then my dad was coaching for the Washington Commanders, Redskins at the time, and so what he did was the class of, I believe it was class of 1999, all the defensive linemen that kind of came out, like the court, like from what I remember, it was like Courtney Brown.
Oh yeah.
And then years ago, Kennard Lane. Just guys that had similar stats in mind. He was like, "Look, obviously, I knew I could have gone early and left my junior year, but the projection was probably first round for sure, late first round pick." For me, I'm like, no, I'm cashing in. I'm cashing in. I wasn't worried about getting hurt. I'm like, if I get hurt, then hey, that's the man upstairs. But I went into, fortunately, Cal, we didn't have the best record. I was like, look, I want to enjoy the college experience. I want to go to a bowl game. I really want to see this through. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but it was the best decision I ever made because my stock Rose and that being 7 pick in the draft.
Let's
in
go back a
2001.
little bit. First of
Yeah.
all, congrats. But like,
Yeah.
let's reel that back
Yeah.
all the way for a second, right? So 0, that's called, from the time you're born to about 15 years old.
Yeah.
You're being raised by a father, right? Mm-hmm. That's a coach, which we know coaches aren't there all the time, right?
No.
And you have this Andre Carter that's built up over this time that has the humility, call it naive, but may have been a little humbleness.
Yeah, it was
You were
humble.
hungry, though.
Little humility,
You
yes.
played multiple sports.
Right.
You were consistent. Dad not being there all the time. Take us back to like the values that were instilled in you, not only by your father, but were there other people that were instrumental in your life in building you up? Who else was there?
This thing, like, coaching, being a son of a coach is never easy. But I knew, like, the times when me and my dad, we interacted, or the times he had time off. I just knew, just learning from him and hearing the stories, like I said, is work ethic. Is like I said, work ethic and discipline. Those are the two things that you can't buy. They can't be purchased. You can't be ordered on Amazon, eBay. It's either you have it or you don't. And I know back then, even before I played football, that was just something that always instilled in me. The discipline, the vision, and then also the coaches that I had that not only from a football standpoint, but from a faith standpoint, just that level, like, they believed that obviously God blessed me with some amazing tangibles, and they just kept on kind of the words. It's amazing what words can do. And those words, the words of encouragement, words of wisdom, words of power, words of strength.
Was there any one individual that sticks out to you that
I think
spoke?
Coach Lee was one of my coaches in high school. He was great. And then, obviously transitioned to college, Coach Bill Dutton. I mean, this dude was like 5'8". He probably like 90 years old.
He was coaching D-line?
Coaching D-line. But I tell you what, one thing about him, I always said this. There's yellers. There's yellers of content and context.
Yeah.
All right? Unfortunately with coaching, a lot of content is being said, but what's behind the content?
Yeah.
That's what I say, context. So he was both.
Okay.
Like, he would MF you, but then you explain why I'm MFing you.
Okay.
Not just MFing you, just to MF you.
So he was a true teacher.
He was a true teacher. And he did, he bounced around a little bit at the time, let you know how old we are. The World League, he did some stuff in Scotland. And so he had some tape, but he really knew football.
Well, I have to. You have to help me understand why your dad didn't want you playing football. Football has been his whole life.
Yes.
He plays pro. He's coaching college. He's got a son that's tall, athletic.
He knew what he was doing.
Why did he not let you play or not want you to play?
I tell you, it's the same. It's probably the same reasons why. Like I said, especially when my son started playing football, I was kind of hesitant. I think this is football in general, because he knew what he was sacrificing. I mean, it's not so much the physical. I mean, it's everything: the physical, the mental, the residual effects of football. We gotta call it what it is. It's lucky for him. I'm very thank God that he's in shape. But I know he's got some buddies that he went to war with that, some are limping, some can't walk. I mean, when, especially on the defensive line aspect of it, and I tell people the same way, you're doing this in practice.
Every day.
In games. And to the point where it's like, like I said, it's time, it's energy, age. It takes a toll on you. I mean, for me personally, people say, "Oh, you look good." I'm like, "Yeah, I look good," but inside, I'm pretty effed up. I mean, I'm just gonna be clear about it.
Talk about that. It's my mental aspect, because I just try not to think about it. I just try to distract myself from it. But at the end of the day, we're human. It's gonna be a point where, like I said, I did my post NFL MRIs. It was something that I had an opportunity to do. And I tell you what, I was in that mug for about 5 hours. I mean, from shoulders, backs, knees, ankles.
I came out and a guy looked at me and was like, "Sir, are you okay?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, why?" "Well, tears, little tears, micro tears. Maybe a shoulder replacement, maybe a knee replacement. Maybe." I'm like, "Oh, well, you telling me something I already knew." And so, like I said, so I kind of, when you ask that question,
Yeah.
that's why. Now, obviously, don't get me wrong. Modern medicine has it changed? Yes, has the game changed where I don't, it's kind of funny. I still, obviously, football is football, from a physical content. But when you kind of compare it to, like I said, my dad played in the 70s and 80s where it was like headhunting days.
Yeah.
And then obviously now you take that element out where they obviously protecting the player's safety, where you don't see those get hit, those big, those type of hits that are scary. It's still physical, it's still going to take a toll in what teams, coaches, your teammates are physically demanding of you. It's a lot. So I know, for one, that's why my dad didn't want me to play. But at the end of the day, guy had a plan and it worked out. Now, for my son, he figured it out. He did his thing, but he's a soccer player. I said, "Dude, you've been playing soccer since you were 4."
Yeah.
He was kind of back and forth. And obviously, it's like I said, I can't fault him because why? Luckily, he remembered the times when I played towards the end of my career. And once I started getting into coaching, obviously with the Dolphins, Adam Gase loved him. He allowed, the sons to just kind of hang out, and Quincy was just real cool. He's sitting next to his idols.
Yep.
Why not?
Yep.
Go to the Jets, same thing. And then, man, you go to, LSU. Wow. And Coach Orgeron allowing my son to be on the sidelines during the games and experience all that, and kind of like the players that I had coached, and the other players are treating him like he was like a little brother.
Wow.
So when you have that type of arena, obviously you're going to gravitate to it.
Yeah.
But I say, you know what? Sports really, I think competition, especially as you get older, it really defines who you are. Just for me with football, it just, as I kind of grew into my body and really excelled on that level in my junior year, it's like, you know what, this is who I am. And I'm a believer in that. I say by the time a kid hits his, towards the junior year, by the time he's a sophomore to junior year, he really knows who he is. Usually those are the ones that are good. But I like to say, I like the multi-sport athletes because they gotta play around with it and discover. But by the time they hit up to their upper class years, they'll know who they are. And so that, for me, football was it was perfect timing. I wasn't too beat up, and we were going from there.
Let's make sure you have some conversations with my wife after this, because I was trying to tell her about the multi-sport. I'm like, these kids down here getting pipelined to the Maddox playing soccer year round. And I'm like, yo, he needs to experiment
with it. And
right?
it's so
but
young.
I'll bring you.
Yes,
you're going to have to get in the conversation.
Yes.
But you brought up micro tears, right? In terms of like some of the things that are happening to you physically. Like, how was it, just in transparency with, your time away from transitioning out, where, hey, your body's not great. Like, how did you take care of your mentals, right? I feel like a lot of times when we're done, we just don't take care of our mentals. And how were you able to approach that in your transition, and how has that been for you and since the game has ended?
No, it's been good. Like I said, doing the post the NFL stuff, whether it was just I did stuff through the NFL Trust, which I recommend everybody doing. Matter of fact, I gotta do mine because I'm past every 5 years. You have an opportunity to go to. I know there's one in West End, but the main one's in Cleveland, and there's another one. But I love that stuff because it gives you a kind of like bullet points and a blueprint of, okay, this is where my body is, this is where I want my body to be. So, like you said, once I discovered kind of like those things, those little bumps, nicks, and bruises that are internally, will kind of, nag me as I get older. Obviously, it was just, rest. Rest is more important than anything. Meditation, stretching. I don't lift heavy anymore. Everything's just more body movement, body mechanics, just more functional training.
Yep.
that stuff really just has really helped me in just maintaining my level of flexibility. They got the right down the street, the Thermia, sauna and cold plunge. That thing works wonder, which I take my
You
son
sound
to.
just like a coach.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you told me that was there because I was just asking Caleb this morning where I could do a cold plunge, but I want to really stick with this body aspect.
Yes.
Because this is something that gets talked about a lot with football. And because you brought it up, like I think what you're talking about is that brain and body assessment that you can
Yes.
get through the trust.
Yes.
And for people that don't know, what that allows you to do is they'll pay for a 3-day physical workup.
Yes.
And you can get an MRI on every single part of your body. You can get CT scans. And at the
Yes.
end of this,
Talk
they
about that,
send
yep.
you a booklet.
Yep.
And then it says, hey, here's all my injuries. But what is it like on the inside, right? Like you can still present as, look, I look like I'm great and I'm in great shape. But what are some of those nagging things that you feel from some of those injuries you've had?
You know, I think the main ones is the main ones that really nagged me are my knees. But my worst injury that I had was the ruptured quad tendon.
Ooh.
That's you know, I thought that was kind of a piece of cake. But as I get older, it's like, you know, especially you jog and run, it's like, ooh, that tendonitis, you know, arthritis. I mean, from what was told to me, possibly, you know, knee replacement down the road. I mean, I got that long scar right there. The issue with me is more spinal, the L4 and L5, the little zings and zaps, arthritic hands, playing defensive line the whole time. You know, I probably had 5-6 dislocated fingers. You know, those things are good. So when I'm in the cold weather, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. You know, it's just
yeah. I know how that goes.
You know, every now and then, you know, you wake up, you know, if you sleep wrong, you know, on the shoulder, you're like, oh, here we go. You know, so it's just, you know, little whatever things floating around on your shoulder. It's always constant. I mean, it's always something like that. But how I've just learned to cope, I just keep moving.
Yep.
I just find a way to keep moving. Whether it's just walking and jogging, running. And like I said, it's kind of like a mind of a coach. It's like, well, if I can get up, I can stand up. I can stand up, I can walk. If I can walk and jog, I can sprint. So that's just kind of been this always been my mentality. But is it easy? No, never easy. It's you know, it's a day-to-day process. You know, I just try to do my best not to think about it. I'm like sure.
Well, you think about it because you're taking action on it.
Yeah.
You know, so there is a.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
I'm taking initiative. Yeah. I stay moving.
Yeah.
So I'll have to stop moving.
Right.
Yeah.
You stay moving right over here in 5 minutes. Like he came over here with the quickness. But with that being said, I have so much appreciation for what JT brought up because I think people listening, players, making sure you're going on the offense when you're done, right? Like
Yes,
we have
got
to
to
go on the offense.
Right.
Again, we're used to being in a facility where everything's taken care of for us, but now we have to go on the
Spoiled.
offense, reach out to people to be able to get these body and brain scans and assessments and go on the offense, such as PAC and Pro Athlete Business Combines or Next Chapter U Business Combine, right? To uncover and be around community, right? Because I think we missed that when the game's over. So much appreciation for you just getting into coaching, right?
Yes.
What brought you that community, that sense of camaraderie.
Yes.
You can take care of yourself physically in the building, right? It brought you around the same resources. But I want to transition into philosophical beliefs a little bit, right? In terms of what you're trying to instill as a coach, right? I know that you have went through a bunch and the kids have changed. Let's just call it what it is, right?
Yes.
So what as a coach philosophically are you trying to instill? Obviously you instill in Quincy, but like when somebody walks into your room, what is your philosophy for that individual? And what are you trying to sow inside that individual?
Oh man, I mean those are really good questions. You know, like I said, there's been a paradigm shift in this generation. Sadly.
So when you say dive into that now,
I'm about to. I'm getting into it.
Yeah, get it off your chest.
Oh, I will. Trust me. Because my players know me. I tell my players this. You know, and like I said, my style of coaching is old school with a new school flair. All right. So what does that entail? Like I said, I keep it real. I keep it real to precise. This is why, and this is what's going on. And it's obviously is it aggressive? I don't think so. It's I always tell my players you gotta know the difference between aggressive, passionate, and just being a total butthead.
Right.
I'm rarely a butthead. I'm passionate because it's based on individual's actions. So I'll give you an example. So if a player isn't running hard, this is my job. This is my style of coaching. If a player isn't running hard, and it's very sarcastic. Oh, you trying to get FSU looked at? You want FSU to look at you, but you ain't running hard.
Yeah.
So if I'm a coach from FSU and I see you jogging, what's that coach going to say about you? That ain't worth a damn. Okay then, so run hard.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I direct it, because a lot of the players that I hear or been around, especially now in this high school level, and it sucks because everything's defined by social media. There's a big time 5-star. You see it. I see it on my algorithms. There's a big 5-star recruit. He's a quarterback coming out of Texas. He can move. He can throw. He can. You put a blindfold on him. He can throw. Daggers.
Yeah,
and
got a bunch of likes on that video.
I'm like, come on. But the issue is now these kids see that, and now they're trying to live up to that. Mm. But the issue is, I always tell my kids, I say, this ain't nothing. You say, what you gotta do is put stuff on tape.
Mm. Yeah.
Your competition, like I said, one of my coaches said, competition either makes you or creates cowards. Mm. So you gotta show up. So when it comes to, like I said, the kids I had, so I'll tell you an example. I had a kid, I won't say his name, but he knows who I am if he ends up coming to hear this. All right, so I had a kid, defensive tackle. He got committed to a certain school. I say, man, you got more to you than you think. He's like, really? So when I hear that, I'm like, dude, you don't believe that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I said, you don't believe that. I said, I promise you, if you listen, if you allow me to coach you, that's the thing. I always tell my players, you gotta allow me to coach you.
Yes.
Allow me to coach you. So it's a lot of it's verbiage. It's not so much like manipulation, because it's not me manipulating, because look, I tell my kids dog, I'm not getting paid for this. It's high school. It's volunteer.
Yeah.
I'm taking time away from my wife, because my wife's like, when you coming back? All right. So
yeah.
I'm here because I want to help you, because you have a certain gift that God given you, but at the same time, I got to get you on that level. But sorry, back to the story. So this kid didn't believe that, but I tell you what, he listened to me. I showed him some things. Next thing you know, other schools started recruiting him. He ended up decommitting from that school, ended up coming to another school, and it was closer to home.
Yep.
And I said, I told you. I said, but I told him, look, I don't want credit for you and your level of success. The thing is, it was already in you. It was my job to get it out you, or get it more out you. And I always told my players this, is like, I've never been the one to be like, hey, I made this player. No, you made yourself. I just coached you hard to get it out you. And so the coaches that I've had in the past, like I said, my college coach, Bill Dutton, Dwayne Board when I was in the pros, Greg Blosh, Pepper Johnson, Patrick Graham. Those are the coaches, even as I especially got older in the league, they allow me to just, hey man, you got to do better. I got you. Because Joe Vitt said it. What Joe Vitt say? Players at the end of the day are what? They're pleasers.
Wow. I still remember that.
That's
a throwback.
That's a throwback.
You just brought me back in the facility.
Players are pleasers. But I said, I like the fact that players, especially the ones that I coach, they want to please me. But I said, but at the end of the day, it's like you gotta please yourself.
Yeah.
You gotta be the one to turn on that film and say, did I do everything that coach asked me to do? And did I win with effort? Did I go out and fight? So that's what it is. So it's more how I coach is more just the rhetoric, the things that I say, because I can't say, oh, you soft. If you tell a kid he's soft, they checked out.
Yeah.
And they want to transfer.
Yeah, no question.
Because the young student athletes paradigm is changing.
Yes.
Now the coaching paradigm is changing.
Yes.
And you're having to use different skills, techniques, tactics to get it out of them.
Yes.
It was different than your D-line coach was hitting you with in high school.
Yes.
And it's really cool that that's your philosophy of coaching, is you're going to do whatever it takes to help get what's best, what their ultimate potential is as much of that out of them as possible.
That's it.
And I think that's really amazing. But you said something else, and I just lost train of my thought.
I'm going to switch it up just a second, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And then it's going to come back to you.
Yep,
That's that,
it is. That's how it works.
That neuroplastic. It's going to get in the front.
Yeah.
You said something just now that I go, oh, what does he think about this? You said they're just going to check out and transfer.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening in today's society right now with those kids that are leaving and just getting up when things get tough, right? What do you think happens, and what do you think is happening to the game, but most importantly, what's happening to the individual that are just checking out or going somewhere else or transferring, or if I don't get this, then I'm out? Like, what happens to an individual when the game's over if they're living their life that way?
You know what's going to happen. As a society, we are declining. We are, I mean, it's, when I thought, like, we kind of look at our era, our generation, all right? And like I said, but obviously you got to look at, and I'm not taking away from the current parents today, because I think everybody raised, but you got to look at us. Like, my dad was born, like, when were your parents born? My dad was born in the 1950s.
Yeah, 44.
Right? So that era was what? The baby boomers, right? And so it was maybe, you know, their level of love was definitely more tough love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where we didn't get it, but we understood it.
Yeah.
Like, my dad loves me. Yeah, okay, he can be a butthead, but he loves me.
Yeah.
All right, and then now you transition to here where now, it's like I say, it's the social media aspect of it where everything is hypersensitive, right? So now you take the game, so you take just that level of aspect where everything's hypersensitive and attach that to the game. Everything is based on what? A click of a button, right? Because with each click of a button is what? Instant gratification.
Yep.
If a kid doesn't have instant gratification, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna check out. It's like, I feel like the kids these days are treating football like an app.
Wow.
The app doesn't give me what I want, I'm just gonna go to a different app. I'm gonna go transfer to another team.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. And so with the kids that I have, especially the kids, so I'm at Cardinal Gibbons now, but now I'm at Cardinal Gibbons now. Last year I was at St. Thomas. I tell my guys this, when I was at St. Thomas or Cardinal Gibbons, I said, I coach you as if transfer portal isn't an option. You know, because I said, I said, I coach you as if, I told especially my seniors, all the seniors I had from last year and the seniors that I'm, you know, from last year and the upcoming seniors I'm this year. I said, I'm coaching you as if you're not going against all the high school kids in Florida, you're going against some dudes in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Because now, coaches, from what I've heard, the college coaches that I've spoken with, they're like, most of these coaches, that's what they get. They get the kids from transfer portal. I said, now you to the point where I'm trying to get you to where you have to play your freshman year once you graduate here. Because if you ain't ready, they don't want you.
Yeah.
Because the stakes are higher now.
There's increased competition.
Yep.
Because of these new rules. And when you were saying that, like, how social media has affected youth sports, you mentioned when players are watching other players, 5-star, top.
Yep.
But then I think back on your story. There was no watching the best next defensive end from New Jersey or
didn't even know
Texas.
about 'em.
You were just running your own race.
Yep. We're focused
You were
on
just
us.
going to practice to have fun. You were
Yep.
just going to learn.
That's it.
How do we reinstitute that for these young athletes so they just go out and be kids and run their own race? Or is that just gone forever?
I think it's gone forever. I mean, like I said, you could destroy the 5-star, destroy social media. It's just, I think, like I said, we're fortunate. I said, I'm glad I played when we played, because I can imagine being a kid these days, and it's just a distraction.
But how do you teach that? I want to dive into this, right? So you think it's gone? Like, I feel like too many kids are getting in the wrong vehicle in the wrong lane.
Yes.
To your point about going in comparison and all that stuff, right? But you have a son that you're raising, right?
Right.
And you're not going to let that shit happen if I know you personally, right?
No.
And so what I think JT's trying to say, how did you embed that in him, or what are you teaching him that other kids or anybody listening to the show needs to understand if they can truly live in themselves, be themselves,
Right.
and run their own race? We know social media is going to exist, but how do
Yeah.
they internally run their own race?
For me as a parent, I've had that talk, and I talk to my son as a dad, you know, and I try to leave the coaching out of it. I say this, especially when it came to football. I said, look, man, a 4-star, 5-star was just something that was just created to hype kids. And be frank, I mean, I'm just going to be transparent from what I've heard. This is what I heard. Let's say you got a kid that goes to a camp. All right, he ends up doing decent. All right, you're a 1-star. He goes to another camp, does decent. Oh, you're a 2-star. Oh, you're a 3-star.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
Oh, you're a 4-star. And I'm not saying, and don't get me wrong. There's guys on there that are just dudes.
Yeah.
I won't, like I said, because I watch. Like I said, I don't watch the camps. I want to watch the tape.
Yeah.
Now, if the game tape matches with, hey, good.
Yeah.
But I've recruited at LSU, and when I watch tape, I'm like, wait, hold on, he's a what? Okay, let me put this tape on. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
From what I've heard, when you go to camps,
Follow the money.
and that killed the game.
That's a crazy insight, but like a lot of things, what's the term? Pay for play.
Yeah.
We live in that kind of culture, that society.
Well, you see it everywhere, man. I think you
Yeah.
see it basketball,
Soccer.
AAU soccer.
But what do you specifically do? Are there guardrails that you have to help
Yeah.
your son with that? Or you just say, look, man, I'm gonna give you some wisdom and you kind of got to take it from there.
I give him some wisdom, and when my son was playing football at that short period of time, I said, look, man, I said, at the end of the day, you just gotta, like I said, I'm just that old school. You just gotta show who you are. They're offering. I'm like, it's an offer. If I wipe my butt and offer you that, I mean, it's an offer.
It's an offer.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it ain't. I'm not trying to be a butthead, but
Yeah.
until you sign your name on a dotted line, then that's where we're at.
Yeah.
But I've seen it. I have seen a shift in my son where, like, he watches, the TikTok, YouTube, which I'm fine with. Hey, it's a kid thing. But you know what I do like about him? He watches like his idols that he wants to be. So that's where if anything, from a social media standpoint, especially, hey, your kid, you're a D tackle, find a guy that may look like you. Like I said, I got two DNs that are about 6'4", 6'5". I send them videos of Chandler Jones.
Yep.
I said, because Chandler Jones long, he knows I use lengths. I said, if you want to, this is how I see what you could be.
Yeah.
I said, watch him.
So you're turning it into a positive.
I turn it into a positive.
How do you
find an athlete that looks like you?
Yeah. And even on a psychological level, what you're doing is, where are you placing your attention?
Yes,
So
bingo.
much about life of
Right.
where you about to end up goes to where you're placing your attention. So you got the same tool, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Who are you watching?
Yes.
Are you watching the peer? Or are you watching who you could become?
Yes.
Are you
Yes,
watching
yes.
to envy or glamorize somebody
Right.
else's
Right.
video? Or are you watching to improve your skills?
Yes.
And if you do the right things and you find the right people and you add to what you're doing, that's what's going to take your career and your talent to the next level.
Exactly. And that's one thing my son does. Like I said, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, other dudes that my son mentioned, I don't even know their names, but
Yeah.
I'm still learning soccer. Y'all give me a hard time. But like I said, I'm proud of him because what I do is when he goes and performs or practices, I see he tries to work those certain skill sets. And like I said, there's one player. He's a freshman. I won't have him. For varsity. But I was like, look, these are I'm giving you some tools. Chandler Jones, like you could be possibly something that molds him.
Yeah.
So those are things that I try to help. Especially in times you try to find that healthy balance of utilizing social media to your advantage. So it's good. Like I said, it's sad. It's sad the game has changed, but I don't allow it to affect me. I don't allow it to define me as a coach. I'm adaptable. Like I said, I adapt with the times.
Your whole life, just like when you had to
it's-
move city to
move,
city,
yeah.
I'm adapting.
I got to adapt. I got to adapt with the game, and obviously the game evolves. I got to evolve with it, but still have my kind of like my personal coaching commandments, so to speak. My certain guidelines was expected from me, and what my players expect from me. And as long as I have that, I'm good. I lay my head down on my pillow at night. But I would tell my players this: is that at the end of the day, I was like, I know I gave it my all as your coach because I wanted to make the best of you. And like I said, the players that I had at St. Thomas, one kid went to a Division II school, partial scholarship. But the year before, he never played football. Happy for him.
Yep.
Had two guys go to Grambling. Didn't get no offers. Grambling came out blue. I'm happy for him. Another guy went to Virginia, and another guy went to Oregon State. So I was like, look, man, because you wanted it. Now, so I was happy to be part of the journey.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Talk a little bit about, as we kind of wrap up, but talk about your vision in terms of what you plan on doing in Fort Lauderdale. I've heard some rumblings that you may be interested in building something for this whole entire community.
Yes.
An economic impact that can't be understated in terms of kids, sports, like your values, how you've grown up.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about what the vision is and the plans for South Florida.
Well, we've been me and Coach Raphael. He's the head coach for Cardinal Gibbons Soccer. It's kind of funny. Like he says, the coaches know coaches. This project's been going on for the past probably 2 or 3 years, but obviously he came to me with this particular project, and so we actually added another element, which was football. So. And I feel like in Broward County, Dade County, or just some of that equilibrium where it's between both counties, where there's a lot of kids that have a lot of raw talent, but there's not a facility to help push them to that next level. And now with the current climate of how everything is, definitely with football and soccer, these are the kids that are like, so close but not quite ready. With this, it's called PDC. It's a professional development center. With this PDC, the plans is to help develop the elite ones, whether it's in soccer or in football, to get them to that next level. And it's not so much obviously the physical aspect of it, but it's also the mental aspect of it, where you want to create certain classrooms, watch film, explain the why. Why are we doing this? Or why are you doing this? Or you create, you're defined by a competition, right? You can create competition, obviously with everything, Lord willing, everything's developed. Create competitions on the field, but you create competition in the classroom. Because if I'm a quarterback, and I got maybe 5 or 6 some of the top quarterbacks, whether it's in Dade and Broward County, and a coach is asking a question on, okay, what do you see in this particular coverage? And one dude knows the answer and nobody else is answering, that's a red flag for me as a player. Like, man, I better study.
Yep.
Because you can only rely on athleticism. If I have a kid that's a defensive lineman, or more of an offensive lineman, where he has the height, he has the speed, but lacks the technique, well, these are the areas and arenas where you can help continue to enhance his skill set. Because there's a lot of, obviously, and I've seen it in high school football where, dude, man, he's big. But I tell you what, as a coach, you can tell a good offensive lineman, when you go against him, how he stretches. So we were playing a team in St. Thomas. I was like, man, I was watching this, one of our opponents, an offensive lineman, like, oh, man, it's a big size. But the kid couldn't even touch his toes. I'm like, I told my DN, run around him.
Yep.
Run around
Run
him.
the hoop.
Make him tired. Tire him out. So those are things that that's needed. And like I said, soccer, because I'm still new to soccer. Like I said, I know with soccer, and Coach Ralph has been very good as far as kind of guiding me of how soccer is kind of, we're still trying to evolve. Obviously, so Europe, from what I've told me, Europe obviously has a system where, for example, they can get a kid 5 or 6, 7 years old, and they're paying for their training. The parents aren't paying for it. They're paying for their kids' training. Why? Because they know the kids have an upside. Because at the end of the day, once that kid has an upside, what happens is another team will come and say, hey, we want that kid. So it's kind of like that pay-to-play system. Why not create a kind of like an arena out here where you can help develop those kids to further their growth, and further the level of acceleration as far as their IQ and development, but also create a training facility because like I said, a lot of international teams kind of come out here. This is a good facility for them to train, they have to worry about, going at certain distances. Hey, come train at this facility. You got the classroom if you need it. You got the weight room if you need it. You're in for 2 weeks and out for 2 weeks. So, this isn't, like I said, I know it's all over the place, but obviously, the main thing is this is like, I guess that's kind of IMG on steroids type of deal.
And I've seen it. It's immaculate,
Yes.
right? And the vision is there, and it's cool to watch, and just hear your vision. And I'm hoping that it can come to fruition with the help of many individuals in the community. It would drive so much traffic because so many tournaments are held down here.
Yeah, 707,
all those things that you're talking about, they're going to be really cool. But I also think it speaks, JT, to the heart of what we just heard today, who he is, how he was raised, being a coach's son, and not shying away from that, right? He's stepping fully into it. And now that you've coached in the NFL, you've coached in college, you're coaching in high school, but you're still looking to, hey, how can I coach and help serve individuals? Let's do it through a facility and provide the best resources so we can give them a better life.
That's it.
And give them better opportunities to excel at whatever they want to do.
Exactly.
And I think that is so dope
I appreciate
that you're
it,
doing that. And I just want to thank you for being on today.
Hey,
The Next Chapter podcast. Again, we're going to go back to what we said originally in the last show, which is when this facility's built,
Yes.
Christina, we're going to move the operation.
There you go.
And go record in one of those classrooms that are immaculate, that has a full kitchen out here,
Right.
that we can get some food cooked for us because we're all starving
go.
right now. But I just
There you
can't
go.
thank you enough
I appreciate it,
for
man.
being on today. And
Yes,
I wish
sir.
you the best of luck in the future.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, man. It was good, man. Hey, good seeing this. Hey, reasons for everything, man.
No doubt.
It worked out great.
Well, that wraps up today's episode, JT. That was fun. And it was, you talked about adaptable. We adapted today.
We adapted.
And keep adapting. Next Chapter podcast, subscribe below. We're always changing gears, changing course. But just know this, we're turning the page.